All right, Peter, welcome to the studio, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. It is so good to see you. And when was the last time we saw each other? In New York drinking whiskey?
I think it was the Carlisle Hotel after an Explorers Club event
Yeah,
in New York. We
yeah,
went out for jazz
yeah,
at the Carlisle
yeah,
Hotel
yeah.
for whiskeys.
You made a presentation
Yeah.
of your photos and your travel work.
Yeah, that must have been like 2018 or 2019.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back when life was a little more interesting.
Well, it actually was simpler.
Much more
It
simple.
it just seems like everything is get so fucking complicated.
Yeah.
My older brother keeps telling me, "Could you just cut the profanity?"
Yeah. No.
They're they're more conservative. I mean, we come from the same sailor family,
Right.
but they didn't pick up what my father, used to say is profanity is the effort of a weak mind to express itself.
That's true. If you got a strong mind, you can work around the profanity.
Or I I I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
You need the expletive because you have insight.
I just try not to self-censor. If I feel like I got to say fuck, you just say fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, 2018 or 2019, Upper East Side, after an Explorers Club event,
Yeah.
Carlisle. I remember jazz, live jazz.
Yeah.
I remember a bunch of whiskeys, and then I remember walking back to my hotel.
Yeah. That's the one. I mean, that's the New York recipe,
Yeah.
right? Have a great meal or a glass of wine, some whiskey, and then just wander through the city and get home.
Yeah. And the last couple of years have just been strange.
Well, yeah, and I left New York. I'd lived in New York this time from 2005 to 2000, the end of 2018. And so the sensibility of the city at that point was it was on an even keel. People were moving in. It was exciting. It was safe. And when I left, I had sublet my apartment to a gal because I'm sorry, I left to go to China
Mhm.
to promote and make this project happen, the bicycle ride from Beijing to Hong Kong again. So I'd sublet my apartment. And during COVID, the gal who was staying there had a lung issue
Oh,
and had to leave.
oh my God.
And I mean, there was a break in the contract. It was cool, but I was fucked
Mm.
because I was in Beijing. I couldn't come back. Nobody wanted to sublet an apartment.
Mhm.
Doctors, nurses, everybody kept trying. Gone.
Oh.
So dear friends and a guy from was it TaskRabbit cleaned out my apartment and put it all in a storage area.
Wow.
And I didn't realize until I got back 3 years later how, um, how unnerving it was.
Yeah.
How, I'd sort of buried the fact that I'd lost my home, and, when I got back, I sensed that, and so I bought a van, which doesn't make any sense, to go searching for a home.
Mm. That's nice though.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of like frequent travelers out there that that had their life kind of upended by COVID. And I feel like, it sounds like your story was particularly bad. I have another friend that was stuck in Shenzhen away from his family for like 6 months,
Yeah.
trying to get out of China while his family was in the United States. You get like there's a lot of people out there that were affected. I still think have like some PTSD from this whole experience because like I was in Ethiopia when the world closed, and then I ended up in Turkey, in Istanbul, and then I got to Dubai, and then I was in Switzerland for a bit. Now I'm here, and it's just like something happened in 2020 that like it broke some of us, and we haven't fully like healed yet. Like because there was this natural rhythm to life which we were all very comfortable with. And then some of us lost our relationships, some of us lost our homes, some of us lost our incomes,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
and some of us, like, still haven't recovered.
And, I think that's absolutely true, and the opportunity in that instance, because it's a wound,
Yeah.
right? And whatever was destructed or came to an end then but Rumi says, "The wounds is where the light comes in,"
Mhm.
right? And so because we've had the things crack open and not knowing what the fuck we're gonna do next, there's opportunity to transform, to do something different, but it's painful.
It's just a little painful.
It's painful and it's slow and
This is my therapy.
exactly. Exactly.
Talk to a whole lot of other people to learn about their stories,
Yeah.
so that you don't have to sit around thinking about your own story
Yeah,
too
yeah.
long.
Stewing in your own juices. Man.
Absolutely. So look, I want to get into this new project that you did during COVID in China, where you reconstructed your original motorcycle, or sorry, you rode a bicycle in the '90s from Hong Kong to Beijing, or Beijing to Hong Kong,
There we go.
and in the '90s, and you met a lot of amazing people along the way. And then you redid the journey in 2021 and actually reconnected with some of the same people. And you and I were in touch during that whole time because you were trying to figure out how to make a TV show about it, how to film it, et
Yep.
cetera, et cetera. And we're going to get into all that because it's super exciting. But let's go back to the very beginning.
Okay.
So, like, I want to know where you're from and how you ended up in China in the '90s in the first place. Because your origin story is actually something we've been friends for years, but
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure I know your entire origin
Where
story.
you come from.
Yeah. So, where are you from?
Philadelphia.
Oh,
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And, one of the things about Philadelphia is I ended up going to Quaker schools. And I mean, Philadelphia, William Penn, Pennsylvania, was a Quaker and founded a school in 1635 called William Penn Charter School.
mhm.
That's where I went to school. I mean, it was 300-year-old school of Quakers. So it was very traditional and it was awesome. It was strict. It was difficult. It was, um, and that uh, ethic, right? So nonprofit, uh, what I'm trying to say, nonviolent,
Mm,
civil disobedience, service, um, the Quaker conscientious objections to war. That was I went to school during the Vietnam War,
mhm.
and so the context that I had around the conflict was
Sure.
very different. And my dad was an admiral,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
so
You guys must have had great conversations around the dinner table.
well, and my mom was a nurse.
Oh,
Right? So it's like I have an admiral on one shoulder and a nurse on the other shoulder
telling you what to do.
telling me what to do.
Yeah.
And it's good now that I've recognized it and understand the voices and can play them off each other as a vehicle for choosing,
Mhm.
right? But that time was it was a really conflicted time,
Yeah.
really conflicted time.
I bet. Yeah. That must have been hard.
And then I topped that off by, being in a construction accident at 17 years old, basically falling, off a scaffold, a 30-foot scaffold,
Jesus.
and I spent 114 days in the hospital.
I did not know that.
Well, there's a lot of history.
I got to lock you in a room in a studio to get to the truth here.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And so, that for a young guy gave me my first sense of, man, it could just be over like that.
Yeah.
It could just be done.
Every day is a gift.
Every day is a gift. And so I went to this little precious, wonderful school. Every one of the students went to college immediately. I took a year off and went to Vail and was a ski bum for a year because I wanted to ski 114 days.
After being in the hospital 100.
For 114 days.
Yeah.
I was payback, baby. And it was just a reassurance that I'm going to be, life is still here. I'm still able, right?
It's good you took that time for yourself.
Well, it wasn't well thought out. It was impulsive.
The best ideas are.
Well, the admiral doesn't agree with that,
Right.
but I've done so many things so impulsively throughout my life that have mostly worked out. I don't know.
Our stories and our journeys are our passport to this life, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and the sense that there's more,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I grew up. My brothers were all corporate. I have 3 older brothers. They were all like Sears, Roebuck, the Bell system, the telephone system. No one went in finance, and so that was my construct. going to college and, a couple of years in bond finance. I was like, "Fuck this. This is horrible."
Yep.
That they cared about if I rolled up my sleeves. I mean, it was just ridiculous. I kicked off my shoes under the desk. That was
Too much for them.
too much. It was too much.
So you needed to be,
I'm too
you're a
much.
bit of a nomad.
I'm just too much.
So how did going to, this Quaker school in Pennsylvania during the Vietnam War, how did that lead you to then being like, "Oh, I need to go to China and like figure out who I am, or go to China and ride a bicycle for thousands of kilometers or thousands of miles through the country and like
Yeah.
connect with who I am and who these people are." Like, where how did that like, did you take a few courses about China at university?
So this is nothing.
Nothing.
No Asia, no anything.
Mhm.
Um,
Your dad wasn't in charge of the Pacific Fleet?
they passed away right after I left college.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or during college. My mom passed away during college. And, it was tragic, and it's affected me in my ability or willingness to have intimate relationships, because the most intimate relationships that I had disappeared
Mhm.
when I was 21. And so it took me a while to then be willing and comfortable to be in long-term relationships.
Yeah.
So, um the first long-term relationship, I still wear the ring that she gave me from that,
Oh, yeah.
and that's like 1985.
Okay, not bad.
We were, actors in San Francisco, and, I was doing improv and then did, theater. I did theater, and, I got rave reviews about a play that I did, and, Stella Adler, do you know Stella
I know
Adler?
Stella Adler, yeah.
So Stella Adler, saw that and invited me to be on full scholarship in Los Angeles because she was opening a new school.
Mhm.
And so it's like, well, of course. Why wouldn't I move?
So with 3 older brothers that all went the corporate route, and for your father being in the military, you ended up as an actor in San Francisco.
Yeah, doing improv
Wow.
and and moving to LA, and I had kind of a pipeline in, um, and did very well in theater.
You're such a black sheep.
But yeah, in in LA, it doesn't really matter.
No.
And so I did some, different gigs. Everybody has to do their divorce court and their days of our lives and things like that. But the coolest thing I did was a music video, "The Power of Love."
Oh my god, that's super famous.
Huey Lewis in the news
Wow.
for, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So I am the Michael J. Fox lookalike.
Oh,
In that, I steal the DeLorean in the music video. I steal the DeLorean and drive off.
because Michael J. Fox was too expensive to put in the music video.
Absolutely, but Christopher Lloyd was there just coked up and, like, just, like, flying around the set.
I bet. He's awesome.
Oh, this is '84,
Yeah.
right? So snow is everywhere, and so, the lip, the noses, the
Everything.
crazy. So I'm in LA. And, the acting stuff is going okay. I thought about this, on my ride up, because one of the reasons I left LA was because I had bumped into a wall in getting cast,
Mhm.
and that wall it became,
Like a glass ceiling
so
or typecasting?
so there's 2 things. One was everybody thought I was 20 something, and when my hotsy-totsy Asians found out I was actually 30, 31, they were like, "What?"
Mhm.
And so that cooled things off. But I had a casting director who was trying to get me into, um, uh,
So you aged out at 30?
I aged 30.
That's fucking sad.
Well, because I was Michael J. Fox lookalike,
Yeah.
and that same, high energy and cute, and, so that, long gone. But I had a casting director who was trying to get me into one of the hospital shows. It was
ER
a
or something?
it was a show that made George Clooney famous. Anyway, I can't remember what
Yeah,
it
I think
was.
he was in ER.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ER's rank. Anyway, and so that was the bait. And so he, what they would say now has groomed me to be in his circle, which was quite a gay circle.
Mhm.
Spent a lot of time with gay people, theater, choirs, fine.
Mhm.
Not my thing. And it came to a casting couch situation for me.
Oh, wow.
And it became very much, do this or not.
Wow, you got casting couched?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole Me Too thing was I kept trying to tell people it's not, it goes both ways. It goes men and women. And so really, really, really put a chill to things here. And yeah. So I started going to journalism school in UCLA.
Oh, okay, what was that like?
It was extension courses and then no big deal. But I was fascinated by journalism. I was running a magazine. Um, how that happened, I have no idea.
Mm.
But we started a magazine called Character. And so Character was meant to be, about all the hyphenates, and we're playing these different roles. And you have to have character within all those roles.
Mhm.
You as a person have to have integrity to keep yourself sane, keep yourself whole. Magazine was called Character. We made it for 6 months,
Okay.
and then the guys behind it ran out of money.
Oh, wow.
So in the meantime,
You were keeping pretty busy.
I've anyway, I like to dive in.
Yeah.
I like to leap into stuff. I get very excited, and I do kinda crazy stuff.
What was LA like in the '80s? Like, I feel like it was before, obviously, social media, before the internet, like, before was, like, was the paparazzi still a thing? Where could you go out and see, like, real stars that are just chilling out because people were not so afraid of cameras and stuff like that?
It was much lower key,
Yeah.
and we lived on Lookout Mountain. We lived actually up in Laurel Canyon on Lookout Mountain, and it was musicians, and it was funky, and, people had barbecues, and, you'd meet different actors and musicians and not necessarily know who they were, but then find out that, "Oh, that's the pianist for Crosby, Stills, Nash& and Young," or, that's actually Graham Nash. I thought he was more handsome than that. Or anyway, so living in that environment was also it was very secluded. It was very protected. So I didn't have the sort of Hollywood Boulevard um, hustle
Mhm.
that some people really have to go through. So I ended up running this magazine. I would commute from Hollywood Hills down to Studio City. I was still doing triathlons,
Mhm.
so I would commute down there on my bike, my Bianchi, my beautiful yellow metallic Bianchi.
Italian engineering.
Man, it was be with Campagnano. It was fabulous. I was so proud of it. And riding down Laurel Canyon Boulevard, one morning, probably going 30 or 40 miles an hour, the traffic coming up is all backed up,
Mhm.
and someone decides, I can't wait for this, and takes their 1972 Chrysler LeBaron station wagon and just turned Ken to a 3 point, right? So there they are across the road
Blocking all traffic, including your forward progress.
in my forward progress. And it was about 3, 4 feet at the end. And I thought, well, maybe I can just slow down, skid, and kind of make it. No, I didn't. I ended the back of the car.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Right at the intersection with, Sunset?
No,
No?
I don't know. It was just sort of middle down on the studio. So, and the other thing about that is they have huge gunnels. They have huge, what would you say? To stop the rain, because when it rains in LA,
Yeah.
it really rains, and so the curbs are a foot tall.
Yeah, you can't hop the
There's
curbs.
no yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, anyway, in the hospital with my broken collarbone, ankle, nose again, um, I, after the ankle operation in, what do they call it? Recovery.
Yeah.
So I'm in the recovery room, And that's this wonderful sort of beta place. And you are, am I awake? Am I not awake? I'm having dreams. And one of the dreams I
High
have,
high on painkillers, no doubt.
oh yeah, there's Demerol. I mean, it is lovely.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. Until all of a sudden, you get shuffled back into your room and then you like start counting the hours for the next pain dose,
Yeah.
right? But in that environment, in that stupor, I had a dream about riding a bicycle in someplace dark, and hearing other people's bicycle bells
Mhm.
and
Yep, there you go. Just fix that.
riding in sort of a sea of bicycles. And I came back to the room, and an old friend was there, and he was a counselor, and he said, Ginny and I had just gone to Beijing.
Oh, wow.
Have you been to Beijing? Because that sounds like Beijing. They're
Or
huge.
Vietnam, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know at that time,
Yeah, yeah.
right? This is 1985. And so that began my quest
Mhm.
to go to China. So I dug up assignment from the LA Times to go on an adventure, basically riding yak ponies through the Tibetan plain on the kind of the boundary of Gansu and Sichuan.
Yep.
In
Great spot. Songpan, all the rest, yeah.
Yeah,
Litang.
yeah, and there is Langmasu is the two temples on the different sides. One golden, right? The other one is traditional red and black.
Yeah.
And it was, at that time there were thousands of monks,
Yeah.
and we rode horses to get there.
Fucking brilliant.
Oh, it's awesome. And I just went like, do other people know about this? Because this is incredible.
Yeah.
Right. So wrote about that and immediately, went with this company called Bujum Expeditions. Beautiful young woman and husband who live in Montana. Anyway, so then went with them again a year later up into the Altai, the pyramid between Mongolia, now what is Uzbekistan, it used to be USSR, and Mongolia, Russia, China. And it's up in the mountains now in West Xinjiang.
Mhm.
And then again, there's just like, so I wrote stories about that, but that was right after. So then Tiananmen happened. And so everything just shut down.
So were you still based in LA at that time, and were you flying back and forth to do those assignments for the LA Times?
So I fell in love with China and thought I need to move to Asia, moved to Tokyo to teach English. And from Tokyo, did as much corresponding and photography as I could.
Yeah, because in the 80s, it wasn't so common for foreigners to pack up and just move to China. Like, did they even have the infrastructure, the visas, the nothing, right?
Well, because I was just a visitor on these journeys,
Right.
right? And then there was a pause from say 89 to 92,
Mhm.
where it just wasn't kosher. But then as soon as things loosened up, I had decided I wanted to go to Beijing Film Academy and study Mandarin
Mhm.
and ride a bicycle from Beijing to Hong Kong
Wow.
in 1994. I get these ideas, Brian, I get these ideas and I act on them impulsively, and sometimes they're disastrous, but this is so I was
But
thinking
always colorful.
great stories. But I was just backing up as a guy now with gray hair, usually risk reward is sort of structured as a zero sum game, right? It's a duality. You risk, you reward, one or the other, up or down. And what I've learned, and you've probably experienced this, no, the risk is the payoff. Being in an environment in which you have life, money, action at stake,
Mhm.
it raises the game.
Heightens the endorphins.
The hyphen, yeah, so so there is that,
Yeah.
right? Dopamines, endorphin, you know.
Well, it's like a lot of people say, like, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah,
So the idea of going out and doing an epic trip or going out and, like, really risking it, it's not about the payoff at the end, which may or may not come. It's about getting through that journey and then being able to use that to further shape your character and
yeah,
to be part of your life story and to give you the experience to have the confidence to go out and do it again.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I started saying that in college.
You were way ahead of your
They did, but at that time, it was just blithe, right? It was just like it sounded good, right? Because I spent a year in Vail. I was kinda cool. I had this nickname, Pecos Pete, you know, because 'cause I'd spent time out west. I used to wear, bandanas.
Yeah.
Anyway, so,
80s wild child.
I had my times. Um, and so I went to Beijing Film Academy in, 1994 for, um, for 6 months.
So that's a film and television school to prepare you for being part of like the Chinese film and television scene?
Well, that is the nature of the school, but in 1994, they didn't really have a whole lot of foreign students. Most of the foreign students were Korean, and so getting into the theater or the cinematography program, that you the
Prerequisite?
thank you. Thank you. Cut that one out. Thank you. The prerequisite.
Yeah. It's still early.
Yeah. So, so, was that you had Mandarin fluency, or at least, some. But I just took that as the way to get a student visa, learn enough Chinese to bicycle through rural China in 1994 from Beijing to Hong Kong, about 3,000 kilometers.
So you went to the Beijing Film Academy basically just to get a student visa and to learn Chinese so that you could execute this cycling trip.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, and Beijing Film Academy, I mean, is like the most prestigious school for film and television
Mm.
in China.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It is now 55 years old. But at that time, it was still very dusty and quiet. There was like 5 buildings, 6 buildings, and buildings being built. But it was, you went to the cafeteria with your cup, right? You had your big cup that you did, for water, for brushing your teeth, for tea, right? And you go to the cafeteria and you stick that big cup through a window, and you get of rice. And then what do you want? Do you want egg on top? You want pork on top? Whatever it is, and that's it. For 15 cents.
Wow.
And at first, I started off in a dorm with 8 people, and after 3, I went to the people and said, "No, no, this doesn't work." So I got set up in a private room, and I had a very different experience at
Yeah.
Beijing Film Academy.
So what was Beijing like in the early 90s after Tiananmen?
Well, so there there wasn't I wasn't looking to have conversations around Tiananmen. Journalist that I am, I was looking for safe passage on my wild hare. I want to ride from Beijing to Hong Kong. So starting to talk about Tiananmen is a recipe for not going anywhere in China.
Total disaster.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
And so Beijing in the 80s, so this is 94. I first started going to China in 88. In 94 was, those bicycle lanes were still there. They were still full. There weren't, many streetlights. So you'd have this kind of sea of bicycles at night. The women would sit on the back or on the crossbar, right? The kind of a dating thing. You go out with your bell, but there weren't a lot of lights.
A simpler time.
And so everybody was slow. It was kind of a ritual, right? Especially during the summer. And so again, I just fell in love with that kind of culture and experience, and wanted to show other people about China. Another thing is, now and then people's use of public space to sing, to dance, to recite poetry, to play air hua. Every street corner, every park.
Badminton, morning exercises, take your
Exactly.
pick. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Flag, fan dancing,
Mhm.
and that's still true today. And I just again, I fell in love with that. It seems so innocent, and it seems so family oriented and so genteel, and lots of the people doing it were in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and I was 30, 30 something, so I was pretty amazed.
Mhm.
I've always asked older people, so how do you get from 30 or 35 or 40 to 70 or 80? Everybody's got a different recipe.
And stay that limber and stay that active.
Well, I'm curious,
Yeah.
right? So one of the things about COVID for me was I think a lot of people had the sense that they have no control and they want their control back. And for me, COVID was part of my experience around COVID was, fuck, I am running out of time.
Mhm.
I got shit I want to do. Right away, I want to climb that mountain. I want to do this project. I want to bicycle across India.
Mhm.
And it just lit a fire under my ass to do that much more.
Wow.
Well, I gue maybe I didn't get the memo.
That's fantastic. So you're sitting in Beijing at the Beijing Film Academy. You got your student visa. You're learning Chinese. How hard was it to get maps to try to plan your bicycle trip down to Hong Kong? Because there were no there like I rode a motorcycle around China.
You know?
It's so hard.
You know.
Yeah.
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 The maps, I had different atlases for people that drove, but they were vague. They were only in Chinese. They were horribly printed.
And it's like one book per province. And
Eh
if you're gonna go through like 10 provinces, you got to get 10 books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I did was I contacted the US Map Service, and I got the most recent aeronautical maps, which were like 1978 US Army maps.
You're a threat to national security.
Nobody really dug into those. Nobody really. No, they didn't. But that was what we used.
That's amazing. Because like even like we had those Garmins on our motorcycles, like when we did our trip in 2010 all around China, and people were freaking out that we had like a GPS system because they thought like we were spies or something. Like that was the mentality once you
Yeah,
get far out of the big cities, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the hair on the arm, right? I mean, back in that time, when you're in rural Hunan or Hubei, up in the mountains, most people never seen a white person.
And you're there pulling out fucking aeronautical maps.
Well, no, 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 no. They were more fascinated by the hair on my arms,
Yeah.
the nose. Look, he's got blue eyes. He's got blue fucking eyes. So they wouldn't be saying blue fucking eyes, but it was that, and you gather spectators
Mhm.
everywhere I went for a meal, for a fixed bike, for the hotel. I had a spectator group around me, and so a lot of photos of just groups of people looking at me, looking in the window. Right, I'd be in some little farmhouse, and they'd clean the window and so they could look in. It was a very innocent time.
It must have been beautiful. So in Beijing, like what was it like packing up your life at the Beijing Film Academy and then like just leaving on a bicycle? Like how fucking daunting is day one where you're like, well, this is gonna take me somewhere between 3 months and 6 months to get
Yeah,
down to Hong
yeah.
Kong. And it's like, what's day one like?
So
In 1994.
in 1994, Flying Pigeon, Segregated bicycle makers, the largest maker of bicycles at the time, they made 1 million bicycles a year more. They were my sponsors. So they made a custom made mountain bike, purple, and that's what I wore. I mean, that's what I rode,
Mhm.
right? And got REI panniers and loaded it up. So what you think you need and then what you actually need.
Two totally different things.
Two totally different things. So every night, every hotel, every farmhouse, I'd leave something behind.
Mhm.
And, eventually, I can't remember how much, but literally cut the load in half.
Mhm.
And, if you need new pants, you can buy new pants. This
You can
goes
pick things up along the way.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that was the lightening the load was really important. And also in that sense of control, because our maps were really outdated and China was already building roads everywhere. The construction sites, the mud was just, part of the journey was really improv,
Mhm.
was asking people, do we go this way or do we go that way?
Yeah, and for people out there that don't know, like China will build a highway, and they'll have like a 5 or 10 kilometer section of the road closed, and instead of like having one lane that you can use, they'll just have this detour that goes through the mud and the dirt for 5 or 10 kilometers, and then they'll get you back up onto the highway and you keep going. So getting down off the highway, because they're usually elevated,
Yeah.
getting down super dangerous. And then you got 5 or 10 kilometers, and if it's raining, it's mud. If it's dry, it's sand. And then you got to get back up, and then your tires are just filthy and dirty, and
And you
all the
are.
yeah, and then all the trucks are filthy and dirty. So that moment everyone gets back for like a kilometer after that, it's just a mud slick
Yeah.
because everyone's coming up, and it's so fucking dangerous all the time.
So that was definitely part of the journey.
Yeah.
That and meeting police, because back then they had areas that were closed to foreigners.
We ran into a few of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they didn't put up signs that says closed to foreigners, right? You just all of a sudden get a knock on the door at the hotel
Mhm.
and, they want to see whatever papers, whatever. And then they go off and they talk about it. Then they come back and they'd ask for more papers or they'd ask more questions. And it varied from house arrest. They put us on a bus. So one train, one bus. The bus broke down.
Mhm.
The drive shaft broke. Get my bike off the top, right? Let's go.
Yeah.
So
You've got your own transport.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so and on,
Yeah.
right? So I think 15 times. But in general, I mean, people were more curious than suspecting that I was a spy.
Sure.
Because at that point my Mandarin was okay. One of the things I've always learned to do in a different language is make people laugh, right? The double entendres, the stupid pronunciations that mama, hoo hoo, and
Yeah.
right?
Your mannerisms are very disarming. To especially like, if you didn't speak the language, you can get by just by making people a little bit more relaxed, right?
Exactly.
So, one question for you. So in the 80s, working for the LA Times, you'd gone to China to do these epic journeys, and then you'd moved to Tokyo and wanted to kind of continue exploring China. Then Tiananmen hit, right? So when you wanted to do this bicycle ride, did you have an idea of trying to make a TV show, trying to make a documentary film, or were you working for the LA Times again? Or like, what was the idea of sharing this story, and what was the vision before you left?
So back in the day, I wanted to make a big color photo book, right? Rick Smolin, do you know Rick Smolin?
No.
Rick uh, produced the Day in the Life book series,
Okay.
Day in the Life of Tokyo, Day in the Life of America. Fabulous, beautiful, spread. And they get together 100 of the best photographers and do it all in one day. I wanted to do a book like that with a CD in the back.
That was new back in the day.
CD, man.
Yeah.
CD. So I took a video camera. Um, so I was very conscious about this thing. Canon was a sponsor. Fujifilm was a sponsor. Feigepai, the bicycle people.
Mhm.
REI, Shackley Vitamins.
Mm.
So I'd set this thing up to make a program.
Yeah.
Back then, National Geographic said, "Well, hey, we'll give you our camera, and then look at the contract, and everything you shoot belongs to National Geographic.
That's very convenient.
Well, if you're really a rube,
Mm.
right? I mean, that still happens.
Oh, still today, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
jumping ahead to jumping ahead to the 2021 ride across China. Um, National Geographic was one of the partners in it, and all of a sudden, after we'd done the journey, we'd produce the CGTN, CTV. We produce a Bytedance series
Mhm.
first on Shigua Sherpy, which is a watermelon video. That's how Bytedance made their money.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a little bit like they started a YouTube and then, figured out they got and that made them money for a while, but then that's when they started Douyin,
Yeah.
right?
The Chinese TikTok.
The Chinese TikTok.
Yeah.
Anyway, so jumping ahead was when the back on the mic.
Yeah, stay close to the mic.
Yeah, I know. I can get animated, and I got stories to tell, and my arms are going around. But National Geographic to distribute it. All of a sudden, here comes this 42-page contract for the version that I wrote and I vocalized, right? And it was everything in perpetuity, forever. Any of the content, not just the content that was created together. They wanted rights back to my original video.
Oh, that's a bit of a rights grab.
And so the process got slowed down. I'd already spent way too much money on lawyers. It was too complicated and onerous for me to negotiate that. And so it sort of died on the vine. Then that geo version got aired in Asia for 3 weeks and then disappeared.
Wow. That's too bad. It's just like there's no reason for that. Like there's no reason to, quote unquote, I'd hate to say it, but like really rape an independent storyteller of all their rights from all their it's just ridiculous how people still try to do that today.
But it's an MO.
Yeah.
And part of what had happened is, if we jump forward to 2021, let me put more sequence on this. Hopefully, you can cut some of this out.
No, it all stays.
Oh, Jesus. So I left China in 1995. Didn't come back for 30 years.
So hold on, you completed your journey in 94 successfully?
Yes,
And how many days did it take you to go from Beijing to Hong Kong?
about 6 months.
And like what was the average distance per day?
It just depended. It depended. Is it paved? Is it muddy? I'm exhausted.
Do you remember your longest day?
No, off the top of my head.
I remember Tough Ride to Brazil, my longest day, I did 12 hours and I did 40 kilometers in the Amazonian mud. And I will never fucking forget that. I could have pushed my bike further and faster.
Very faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I remember, the hardships I remember from the 1994 journey was once got up into the mountains of Hubei, right, which are really just, I can't even remember the name of the mountain range. Huge. There were food deserts. So it was very difficult to get much more than noodles and candy and Fanta. Remember Fanta, the orange drink?
Yeah, that's everywhere in China.
They used to show, they would have no food, but they would have Fanta.
Yeah, no Coca-Cola, no Sprite, nothing like that, but they'd have orange Fanta.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but the food desert, I had gotten to a point where when we got to Guizhou, I'd lost too much weight. I couldn't get enough food. So getting to Guilin was feast time.
Yeah.
So stayed in Guilin and Yangshuo, right, with the karst, right, the mountains that stick up. You know what karst are.
Yeah, the Li River.
Li River, exactly.
Yeah. It's on the $5 bill in China, I think still, yeah.
Oh yeah, good call.
Yeah, we stopped there on on Tough Rides China.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, gosh, I'm jumping all around.
It's okay. I think I'm just curious about that first trip and like what it felt like finishing this epic 6 months because you're in your early 30s. It's your first time really spending that much time in China.
Yeah.
Like you'd been on tours before. You'd had support groups. You were you were kind of coddled into these experiences with while you were working for the L.A. Times. But like 6 months by yourself on a bicycle, going from Beijing to Hong Kong, there's no support group. That's balls out. It's if your bike breaks down in the middle of nowhere, you're fucked. Like that kind of trip is just brilliant, right? And I'm just like, what was it like getting to the Shenzhen Hong Kong border and being like, fuck, I'm done?
Yeah.
Or was it more of a whimper than a
No, 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 no. There's all sorts of things. So one insight was, um, every month I had chosen a post office to have a general delivery box of fresh film, clothes, some bicycle parts, some food that my friends who worked in the embassy, the U.S. embassy, sent me every month.
that takes a lot of fucking planning. Good, what nice on the logistics front.
It worked. I mean, 5 out of 6, got 5 out of 6, and they were,
Air packages,
gift
chocolate.
wraps. And, frankly, it became an issue around, I've got all these exposed rolls of film. How do I protect them? I'm carrying them. Can I get them to a courier? No courier. No courier. It was back in the canisters of film, right?
I love those days.
Oh, man. So getting to Hong Kong, um, was it was joyous, but it was mostly a relief. So the question about Shenzhen, back there was literally a bridge that you went across. And what happened was, Canon had set up a, press conference, um,
Right when you cross the border.
or Fuji at some hotel in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I had a friend in Beijing who worked for some PR agency, and she had taken it upon herself to get a press conference.
Cool. Good on her.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
But she's still a friend.
You
Wonderful.
must have looked like absolute shit after that.
It was skinny. Skinny was
Skinny, big beard,
and dirty
drinking.
clothes.
Yeah.
No, remember the beard. But the, issue was I couldn't get there in time because I was lost because they were building new highways and this and that. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't find it. It wasn't on the maps, everything. I had to take a taxi the last, like, 20 kilometers
Hmm.
to get to the press conference,
On time.
and I've never said that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sewing up a little bit sheepishly,
Mhm.
and, but, again, I had lots of friends who were very supportive were there, and it's the first press conference I'd ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. I can't imagine doing that trip in 94 and just the rawness of China. Like, cause I was there for 18 years from 2001 to 2018, 19.
Yeah.
I was lucky to get out before COVID, but I find it super interesting, like how just kind of innocent and naive and raw the people in the countryside must have been at that age, like before the internet, before smartphones, before lots of contact with white people, international companies, this whole thing. Like like your journey is a real time capsule of what China was like. And especially coming out of Tiananmen, because Tiananmen was like a 3 year,
Build up and denouement.
yeah, like a forced isolation, where people really didn't come and visit China at all. And then all of a sudden it's like, now you're cycling through their village and it's like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Epic.
Well, one Chinese cultural experience was, I can't even remember, I think it was in Hubei, but it was a tiny little town, got there at evening time, and went in and had some noodles, and I had a light on my handlebars, right? And it was a light that detached, and so I left it out there, and when it came out, it was gone. It's like, did anybody see a light? Because I need that light to, like, continue to go to the place to sleep, and like, that would really be helpful.
Mhm.
I'm sure someone's just curious. And what happens is an hour later, from the next village, the father brings his 8-year-old boy literally by the ear with my light in his hand
Mhm. Nice one.
because the word had traveled. You don't dishonor our village by stealing.
From a foreign guest.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's beautiful.
Oh, but that ethic, as simple as that experience was, is still deeply ingrained in the culture.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's there. I mean, like people don't understand how hospitable the Chinese people are, and I felt that in 2001 and 2002 when I was doing my travels around, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to stick around.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really is like no other country in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a family that I stayed with one night, I call them the most generous people in China because it was again in Hubei, but it was raining. It was a gravel road that was slippery. It was up some mountain. It was cold. It was probably October by that point. Maybe it was October, November. Anyway, um,
Because that part of China gets a proper winter.
it does.
Yeah.
Some snow, but they offered me a potato. In that part of China, they have these purple potatoes, sweet potatoes. So, "Have a potato." Out a window, "Have a potato." So, it's like, "Oh, that was great." It was warm, it was everything, and I was pooped and wet and cold, and they said, "Come in, come in, come in," and they prepared a meal for me that was the equivalent of a fig of a Chunje, of the New Year's lunar festival, right? They had to borrow cabbage. They had to, his cousin brings a piece of dried pork, right, in some old towel because that was being saved for the holiday. And so they put on this banquet for me.
Amazing.
And then their 3 children, because they lived in the mountains, they had that privilege. Their 3 children slept in mom and dad's bed so that I could sleep in the kids' bed.
Three kids because they had the one child policy, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Minzu, right, they are Liu.
Yeah, people who are in the countryside, or if you're in a minority, you can
Yeah.
have, yeah.
Minzu is the word for a minority, one of the tribes, one of the 56 minorities in China,
Officially.
officially. Yeah, well, um and so called those people the most generous people in China. So when I first went back to China on business in 2015 to Shanghai and stood on the Bund where I'd been in the 80s and 90s and everything was the last time I'd seen the Pearl Tower, it was a stump with 4 little things being built. There was, there were still containers on that. Pudong was nothing.
Just grassland.
Come back in 2015, and, it was it's this marvel, this engineering and commercial marvel, and so that's when it just triggered something in me beyond being a witness, like, "I've gotta come back.
Mhm.
I've gotta come back and do the ride again."
Well, this is interesting for me. So you do this ride in 94, you finish in Hong Kong. Did you think to yourself at that time, like, okay, I'm going to go back to Beijing and like live my life in China? Or did you think like I got to get back to the United States? Did you think like I want to be a filmmaker? I want to do this for the rest of my life? Like what were that like initial year or so after that first trip? Because like when I started doing my trips in China, I immediately thought I need to make a living out of this. So
Yeah,
I'm going to learn how to be a photographer. I'm going to learn how to write.
yeah,
And then eventually that graduated into producing and making television.
yeah.
But like I was hooked from the minute go. Like I did not want any other career. I
Yeah.
didn't want any. I just wanted to. So I'm wondering like where were you mentally in 94 after completing that trip?
So, Nat Geo made a 18-minute short documentary from the video that I had, um, called "Biking the Dragon," I think, and so that was satisfactory, that paid some of the bills. Um, the getting the photo book really didn't work out because it was at a time that photo books were in transition to digital. People, this is 1995, 96. Everybody's starting to put all that stuff on the web, this new thing
Hmm.
with browsers. And so the CD in the back of the book, wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do more of those adventures.
Yeah.
So I worked with a National Geographic photographer who had been going up into the Pamir Mountains, right? The Pamir Mountains along the Karakoram, right? Up to Islamabad. What's the first city? Anyway, it goes from Kashgar up to Islamabad eventually. And so she had been going for years up to visit Kyrgyz families. And I mean, it was a 4-day trek in up to 13,000 feet with mules. And she had arranged to have us stay there for 6 weeks because she wanted to photograph the in the autumn. Um, what happens is all the animals are in the high pastures.
And they have to bring them back down.
They have to bring them back down.
Yeah.
So it's this incredible caravan of all these animals over little tiny bridges or fording through rivers, and once they've done all that and harvested, put that up, they celebrate their weddings and the funerals that have been postponed, and they play this game called uh, Kashi. Oh man,
That's where they play with a donkey carcass.
yak carcass. Golly. Buzkashi.
Yeah.
Buzkashi. In Kyrgyz language, the body of a calf or a yak but for days, and there is no boundary.
Oh, wow.
So it's up into literally up into until the valley side starts turning into rubble from the mountains, and these 40, 50 horses gangling for this thing, and just amazing. So our deal was she was a still photographer, I did video and radio.
Oh.
And so it was a fabulous experience. We stayed there for 13 weeks.
Oh, wow.
No, that's a lie. 10 weeks at 13,000 feet, because that's where and it was called Before the Snows Return,
Beautiful.
right? Because it started snowing on our tents in the end of October. So we did that, and I was like, I just want to keep doing these, right?
It's so addictive, isn't it?
But Nat Geo didn't accept her photos for the story.
Wow.
And so that sort of kiboshed everything else.
Because you guys could have been like the new team that went out into the world and did stuff for Nat Geo.
Well, or that story could have been well told in different dimensions. That was when this is so 95, this is 96. So people who started the multimedia, people are starting to understand that model. And so that I was just turning 40, and I hadn't made money on the Beijing to Hong Kong. This one was a absolute bust. I think they gave her film and gave us $1,000 for mules. And I thought, I'm turning 40. I'm going to make some fucking money.
Yeah.
Because I've spent the last 5 years just touring around. I'm a single guy. I'm touring around the world, right? Working for the airline magazines back when they used to give you an 8-page whole, put in, 50 or 40 photographs and a story and pay you well.
I used to do that.
I know.
The airline magazines were great business.
Oh man, they were awesome.
Yeah.
They were awesome. And they'd send you to Moscow, or they'd send you, and as a 30-something guy, single guy, that was a life. And so I could make a living at it. And that just all sort of crumbled.
Yeah.
Are you hot in here?
It's a little warm. Are you doing okay?
Okay.
Yeah. It's the lights.
Yeah. Well, obviously. I mean, I'm sure you could get the pot growing out of my ears if, it's probably not as much infrared.
Have some tea. Have some tea. Relax a little. Yeah. So that Nat Geo spec assignment kind of busted, and it kind of woke you up to the realization that, hey, you might have to work a little and build a bit of a nest egg in order to kind of go back out and keep exploring the world.
Yeah. And so I got into technology in Silicon Valley.
So you came back to after the Pamir Mountain, assignment
adventure.
adventure. you came back to California and were like, I need a job. Like, I need to start contributing to.
Yeah, well, I know I need money.
Yeah.
I need a and so, of course, I worked for a website that was about Asia,
Mm.
right? So, called Channel A, and, um, and we were programming bringing Jackie Chan movies in, Michelle Yeoh movies in, Bruce Lee movies, and then knickknacks and things like that. So it was an e-commerce model, right? It was, content and commerce,
Mhm.
content and commerce, content, community, and commerce. There's right the recipe in the 90s.
That was the recipe for the dot-com bubble.
Exactly, exactly. I rode that wave right through, baby. Yeah, I rode it right to March of 2001 too.
Yeah.
Boom. But that was my introduction to the technology.
Yeah.
To and I just kept doing technology stuff, ostensibly putting magazines on the internet.
What was what was it like kinda going back into the real world after spending so much time out of the real world? Because like, a lot of people might not understand this, like, you do a big trip like your cycling trip in China, you're running on endorphins for 6 months, it's such a fucking high. Then you go back to, like, normal life, you like, I always go through, like, massive depression, withdrawal,
Exactly. Me too.
and then you go and then you go, "Okay, now you got the Pamir thing, you're out in the Pamir thing for 10 weeks, then now you come back, again,
Doesn't
withdrawal,
pay off.
depression."
Yep.
Like, how did you work 9 to 5 in Silicon Valley and 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 just deal with that crushing desire not to be back out in the field?
I needed money.
Yeah?
And uh,
Were you taking any wild vacations or trying to
no,
overcompensate?
no. Well, I basically had been in Asia, in Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Beijing for almost 9 years. So it felt good to actually be back in America.
Mhm.
That letdown was part of it, right? You'd come back, we'd have stories like this, right? And people would say, "But have you seen Batman 3?"
Batman what?
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
Talk to me about real fucking things.
Because I'm walking down the supermarket aisle going, "Wow, look at fat-free what?" You know? So, um,
That one day I had lived on a sweet potato in China.
but it was easy,
Hmm.
right? So I settled into the ease of having a car,
That's a good way to describe American life, though, just
of having a flip phone.
Hello, Moto."
Right. Ex It was the moto. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And,
Might be going back that way, by the way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I was living in Silicon Valley, and so, all the dot-com, buzz and all the dot-com, parties and cross-pollination. So, from that, I, co-founded a company called Girl Geeks, and Girl Geeks was bringing women into technology.
Mhm.
Again, content, community, commerce. We filmed women leaders in Silicon Valley and then formed little tutor groups or support groups online around them, mentor groups. That's it. And then got them jobs.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool model. And people called it, this is, you're a social entrepreneur.
Oh, wow, that's the first time that was used.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is like 88, 89, and I worked with this gal who from Lucasfilm, and we had a great dynamic, Christine Hanna, and we had a great dynamic, and, so we were able to make that go. And the funny thing was venture capitalists just thought, "This is cool." They get to look good. Maybe it's not gonna make any money, but I mean, they have portfolios of $500 million, and they have the companies that they've invested in, they've got 40 or 50 companies that they've invested in. So this is just icing on the cake. This is, a couple of 100,000 here, a couple of 100,000 there, nothing.
Their PR play, their social, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And they thought it was cool. Lots of young women in our company.
Mhm.
Um, and so, that rode the wave until 2001.
Mhm.
And then, nobody was hiring technologists, getting more funding wasn't gonna happen, and it just crumbled.
So what do you so you're sitting there in 2001, the dot-com bubble busts. I was still in school, by the way, at that stage. I was still at university, but so I was sheltered from the dot-com bust. I didn't have any investments and I
You're
wasn't working,
such a bambino.
right?
You're amazing. You
But
are amazingly precocious.
but but what were you thinking, like, okay, this has gone bust. Now it's my time to go back and travel? Or were you like, okay, I need to find another job? Because sometimes when there's a break like that, people can use it to get back
Yeah,
out into
yeah,
the world. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I had adapted,
Okay.
and I had become a social entrepreneur, and that had become sexy. And so all of a sudden, I was being courted as a consultant for social entrepreneurism. And so I was part of the Social Enterprise Alliance. I was on the board. I was the chairman of the convention, right? I was just gone into business.
Yeah.
I'd gone into being that way.
How useful was your resume and your previous adventures when you were bouncing around Silicon Valley, networking, looking for investors, looking for new opportunities? Like, did people point to that and be like, "Holy shit, that's amazing. I want to work with you"? Or was it like, "Oh, you have like a 10-year gap in your resume where you were doing
More of
what?"
that. More of that.
Fucking
The fact that I ran magazines, because I ran a magazine in LA called Character.
Mhm.
Then I ran Tokyo Journal, which was the largest English language magazine in Japan, and then started the Time Out franchise. In Time Out was a
I know time. Yeah, yeah, the guidebooks.
is
Yeah.
a service magazine. We hear the weekly events, things like that. The publishers got the license for that when we started it,
Mhm.
until we found out they didn't have the license for it
Oh.
and were sued like 5 months later.
I did a shoot for Time Out, actually. I did their entire Shanghai book 1 year. I can't remember. They paid me really well,
Yeah,
and I remember it took me like 30 days to shoot every restaurant, every shop, every street corner, like,
yeah.
in all of Shanghai, and it was actually really fun, like
Woot.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They were nice people, yeah.
Well, and keys to the city.
Yeah, this was, like, back in, like, 2007 or 8 or 9 maybe?
Everybody wants the magazine coverage.
Yeah.
So I was the editor in chief. I got invited to everything.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. My head swelled. I just thought I was the coolest thing. And then I got let go. Oh, we had the crumble because of the legal issues. And tried to go back to Tokyo Journal and learn, no, it's not about you. It's about the chair.
Mhm.
It's about the editor in chief chair. And you're not in the chair anymore. It has nothing to do with you.
Mm.
So, and that was a wonderfully humbling experience and a really good lesson.
Mhm.
So, so social enterprise.
So you were working there magic.
So social enterprise. I worked for the Rockefeller Family Fund,
Mhm.
their nonprofit. There was a whole initiative to take technology and proliferate it within nonprofits,
Mhm.
right? Databases for fundraising, things like that. And Rockefeller Family Fund was called Tech Rocks. And so I was the COO at Tech Rocks to proliferate that technology.
Is that what got you back to New York after spending
That's
time
what
in
got
Sil
that's what got me back to New York.
Yeah.
And, so I was doing the social enterprise thing, doing then I became the CEO of, SeniorNet.
SeniorNet.
SeniorNet. SeniorNet was, IBM-sponsored learning centers for seniors,
Mhm.
and basically they were trying to, cultivate a senior workforce for pennies.
Mhm.
Um, and SeniorNet, I became the CEO, but I had learned in my rise, if that's the right word, that this was a troubled organization. And, like 3 or 4 things had to change. Like the board members need to change. Like the salaries for those people needed to change. And so I made a contract that had these criteria. And in 6 months, they hadn't met the criteria, and I had pissed them off, and they fired me.
Okay.
They fired me. I had brought my new board members. We're sitting outside the meeting, and they come out and say, even let go.
Wow.
But because of the contract, I was paid well for a full year.
Oh, well, good on you.
Well, I was 45, you learn things.
Mhm.
Um, and so I took that year to do volunteer work in Africa about malaria,
Mhm.
about we were creating a network to distribute nets. Back then it was DDT and education for women in rural villages in South Africa, Lesotho, and Mozambique.
Nice.
That's what I did for a year.
Mhm.
Most people say, "Well, why don't you just pocket the money and start another business?"
You needed some time.
Well, I felt this itch
Yeah.
again, and people wanted to set it up, and I was the point man. I was the I was the guinea pig,
Mhm.
and so it was at that itch again.
Mm. So what capacity did you get back to Shanghai in 2025? What was the capacity of work that brought you back to China?
So
2015, sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I'd been involved in technology in one form or another for a long time. Oh, there's another stopping here. I was the CTO of the International Rescue Committee, which is this gigantic NGO around the world, $300 million, founded by Albert Einstein,
Oh, wow.
and I was the CTO. I wasn't qualified. I I knew how to manage people, and after 18 months, we decided I didn't like working in a big organization,
Mhm.
and they wanted somebody who was more technical. So we parted ways again with a nice 6 months to do whatever.
Mhm.
Um, then I got involved with a company, a startup company. We did translations of subtitles for video.
Mm.
So this is starting in like 2012, something like that. So we're early to that game, and we're undercutting the film distribution companies, which had that. Deluxe was one of those. Right? There's different traditional Arista maybe had that business locked up, and so we were able to use translators from around the world on a technology platform to cut the costs in half, increase the speed to translate any video, anytime.
That was when videos were being sent all around the world at a much higher rate. That's like 2012. You're starting to get into Instagram. Facebook's already well established, et cetera,
Exactly.
et cetera.
Exactly. Corporate training was
Mm.
what was a big thing.
I think Netflix was even probably streaming videos around then because, like, I remember even in China, I could get Netflix maybe.
You're on the nose because Netflix was very early
Mhm.
at translating video.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they're very particular about it, and they were very specific, and they did it. We worked with them for like a year, and they said, "We can do this in-house. We'll do it faster, better, cheaper." And so you're exactly right. Netflix was early to the well, they were the repurposing.
Yeah.
I'm coming up with all my corporate words.
They're great, actually. You got all the buzzwords.
Well, hey, I played that role
Yeah.
for a while. And so we built that up and, I got Apple and Facebook and Microsoft and all these clients. And so I made some real money, which is great. I'm living in New York and I'm having the life in New York and making money. And that's when I went to a translation conference in Shanghai
Okay.
and went, whoa,
This has changed a little.
this has changed.
Yeah.
I went back to Beijing Film Academy, and the one of the kids that I knew at that time, a student, right? This is 25 years later, is now the chairman of the cinematography department.
Oh, wow.
He recognized me, or I recognized him, or we liked that story. I think that's actually it,
Mhm.
that we liked that story. But he said, if you wanted to do this bicycle ride, that would be big.
In 2015, he said that.
2015.
So he planted that seed inside you like, "Hey, you should do this
I
again."
I can hook you up with Peony, I can hook you up with Hunan TV, these sort of outliers, small, more entrepreneurial, businesses, and that's where it started.
Mhm.
That's what went back in 2016, started riding a bicycle again, started making friends, and so by the end of 2018, I left my corporate job. I just said, I want to go do this thing in China. This is where my heart's leading. It's more important than ever that China and America understand each other. Americans are so ignorant about China
Still today.
still today, still in need. And it took, so I moved there in February of 2019. And so it took 2 full years to come to fruition. We were going to do it in 6 months. Then it got delayed by bureaucracy, which I think is basically a short word for politics.
Yes, naturally.
Yeah. And so it got delayed by politics. Then it got delayed by COVID. And one of the things that happened in that year, so I lived in Hong Kong for 6 months, waiting to go back um, during the COVID time.
And we were in touch at this stage. We did a few Zoom calls.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I remember us talking when I was in Istanbul.
Yep. Yep.
I remember we met in China several times when
Yep.
you were kind of setting all this up
Yep.
because I had done some work for Tencent. I'd done a big series for Tencent. I'd done some work for Discovery Asia and BBC,
Yep.
and you were asking advice, and we were just trying to figure out how to film stuff and how to manage the logistics. And you were asking me a lot about how to deal with like the Chinese television teams,
Oh, yeah.
which is a fucking podcast unto itself.
Yeah. 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 And in that year, it had gone from, 6 guys and a van and an e-bike, right, to now it's 15 people, right? Because they got Specialized was a sponsor, GAC Cars was a sponsor, Union Pay credit cards was because they had a year
Mhm.
to go and fish for sponsors,
Yeah.
right? So all of a sudden the production got bigger and longer and fancier.
Doesn't help, does it?
Well, at that level, I was a noob,
Yeah.
right? I mean, 15 people working 9 9 9 9 6, right? 9 to 9 every day, 6 days a week, um, and d- it was fabulous. It was amazing. It was exhausting. It was ridiculous.
So when was the trip actually green lit, and what date did you actually leave for this second journey?
So when COVID hit, I was living in Beijing in a nice apartment, and all of a sudden, all of our visas were canceled.
Oh, really? They canceled visas.
Yeah, didn't matter what visa, didn't matter what project, what everybody's visas. Well, not everybody. I mean, not embassy staff or things like that, but a lot of corporate, a lot of anybody who was sort of between the cracks, all the roles of, I actually live here, but I've got a tourist visa,
Yeah.
uh, all
How
that.
how did that message get delivered? Was it by mail? Was it phone calls? Was it emails? Because
It
I'm
was a knock on the door.
oh fuck,
It was
the
a knock on the door and go to the
local
immigration
police
office.
station or the wow.
Well, when COVID started, there was a knock on the door and it was local because I lived in an old-fashioned, um, commune apartment building
Like a hutong?
in a hotel.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a committee for the community, and so they were delegated to and they gave me a pink piece of paper translated badly into English
Get the fuck out.
that said, "Well, no, that was first precautions and your passport number and your this and that." But then, like a week later, just go to the immigration office, 48 hours, 48 hours to pack up and go.
That's
And
all you were given.
that's all I was given. And so everything basically got left behind in a friend's apartment, and I just made it across the border to Hong Kong on a bus.
Wow.
Yeah, and spent 6 months in Hong Kong trying to get back in.
Yeah, because I mean, you wanted to stay in the same time zone. You wanted to stay close by. You're still setting up this production. You're still communicating with people every day, and you're in Hong Kong, being like, I can't get across the border at
Yeah.
this time to lead my production.
And I was so close,
Yeah,
right? So
but
it's
so far.
I was so close,
Yeah.
and I just refused to give up. I refused to give it up. And, so the production company um, Yunji Media, part of Shanghai Media Group, they had to get a visa consultant. They had to get, you know, it took 6 months to get a visa, and then I got back in,
Wow.
and then the production started. Boom, boom, boom.
So what day did you leave for this second epic journey from Beijing to?
April 22nd, 2021.
So I love the fact that China basically had their international borders closed for nearly 4 straight years,
Yeah.
and getting in and out was a huge issue. But somehow you got in and rode a motorcycle through China, or bicycle through COVID era China.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's fucking amazing.
28 PCR tests. 28 up the nose or take blood or whatever the test was because every province didn't trust the province before.
Yeah. Funny how that works.
Even though we have a paper, everything's official, and it's 10 days old, they didn't trust the province before. They had apps. We had apps on our phone, which literally reported our proximity, and they could flag you and it would turn yellow because you'd been in some general area with someone with COVID. And then the next province would have their app, right?
So every province you had to download,
Not every province,
but adhere to different rules and
it's
regulations.
just exactly.
That must have been fucking crazy.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't the producer because the producers literally worked 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
They were just driven crazy by all the bureaucratic twists and turns and power plays, and
In the end, was it still a 15-person team that went?
15 people all the way.
6 months, 15 people.
No, 10 weeks, a little over 10 weeks.
So a 10-week shoot, 15 people. You had producers working with you, and you're just cycling every day with this circus behind you.
So this became a more managed schedule.
Right.
So while I wanted to bicycle the entire route, and I had planned and worked with a company called Komoot to plan out all the way, they wanted the bicycling visuals.
Just in the key spots.
Their visuals.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so we navigated and negotiated that all the way along.
That must have been so exhausting.
It was because I only got to bicycle half the route.
That's a tragedy.
And it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that I got to do that. But it was negotiated. And so, every time I got, 2 hours, I can bicycle to here. And I'd jump out and I'd ride and they'd film me or not film me. And, that was the process all the way along. And so I became more of an actor, right? A host playing a role, telling these old stories. And we went back and visited the most generous family in China.
Right. With the Chinese New Year dinner they provided for you.
Exactly. So little interstitial here. First thing I did when I went back to China after 2015, 2016 was I went and found them.
Oh, nice.
And I hired a cameraman and went and found them. And I gave them the biggest hotel banquet I could find. And then now the kids are all married. The kids have kids, right? So instead of 5 people, it's like 15, 18. But that was my gift. And showing them the National Geographic documentary on the television in the banquet room.
Nice.
Right? It was to this day, it chokes me up because their generosity, and then my opportunity to go back and thank them.
Right.
The father had been criticized for not getting money from the foreigner, and he had taken that heat and kind of been foolish, and so these are the stories that came out as I spent a little more time with them. So all of a sudden, the father is redeemed, right?
Finally, after what, 30 years?
25 years, but he's honored, right? And face, right? Talking about face in China. So it still chokes me up.
Yeah.
It's
Wonderful that you did that, though.
Well, it was still chokes me up.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So you found them, then you started doing the trip, then COVID hit, then you're in Hong Kong, then you get back, then you do the 10-week shoot. You get to Hong Kong after that 10-week shoot. I mean, do you then what? Like, it's like, okay, now I gotta go back to normal life. I gotta go back to China and to work on the edit. Like, what did it feel like to finish this proper television
So
series?
I stayed in Hong Kong,
Yeah.
um, and, did voiceover work for the Nat Geo version, supplied photos because one of the unique parts of both the Nat Geo in 1995 and this series is I get to show my photos,
Mhm.
right? The same old place, the same this and that, and just people, the natural interactions with people were so playful and colorful. And so, for a photographer, that was, really a bonus to have that as part of the production vision.
From a landscape perspective, did much change between your trips in '94 and 2021? Like, did you?
Paved roads,
Yeah, big
a
one.
and super highways,
Yeah.
and so sometimes, the producers had a deadline to get done by such and such a date, and so sometimes the time to ride they'd be behind. So we get in, a van, a minivan, and we drive for 6 hours on a super highway, and we'd end up at the next town.
Mhm.
And the next morning at sunrise, I would go out and bicycle dutifully, and or they will have set me up to do dragon boating, so I joined a dragon boating team. Um, they set up parasailing. What is it when you run off the mountain and it's just a parachute with somebody who's basically driving?
Yeah, that's,
Paraglide.
paragliding.
Um, Never done it.
Mhm.
Um,
It's a fun one.
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
I loved it. And what I loved even more was the first time that we did it, the GoPro sound didn't work.
Mhm.
So, damn, we had to do it again.
That's beautiful.
Oh, I just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed.
Yeah. That's amazing that you got to do that trip 25 years later and
Yeah,
got to experience all those same locations and same people, and then with a little bit of extra frill here and there.
yeah.
That's, like, not a lot of us get to do that, that 25-year anniversary tour.
Yeah. No, it's a huge it didn't turn out exactly as I wanted,
Mhm.
but it was a huge, huge privilege,
Mhm.
right, to spend 10 weeks in front of the camera basically being a guide. I mean, one of the things that I so appreciate about all of your work and literally I try and incorporate, you are such a guide.
Mm.
You are so good at inviting people in and stopping at the turn in the road or stopping at the turn in the trail or the top of a mountain and keep bringing people along.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm exhausted, but, this is what you've gotta do, and you're so good at it.
Thank you.
You're masterful.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are my you are my mentor.
That's very, very kind of you to say.
No, it's true. It's true.
It's funny how our genre doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Well, but you've jumped right into the new bandwagon.
Well, I think, it's, I a lot of people in this town specifically, and I absolutely came to LA, for to try to resurrect my career after COVID.
Mm.
And it's been a profound experience just because of how many people have just said, "Oh, travel and adventure? Oh, you're on YouTube now." And that's it.
Bada bing.
And it's just like, okay, well, that's interesting. Like, we had a good run. We were on Thursday nights at 9 o'clock for a decade,
Yeah.
and you're just gonna go with more reality television. Like,
Yeah.
how many times can you watch reruns of the Kardashians or something like that?
Yeah, how many housewives can you, put into a room and have them cat at each other?
You know what the number one show on Discovery Channel is now?
It's something trashy.
It's like Pimp My Rides, like car repair and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, like Discovery Channel used to be about discovering
Science.
the world.
Exactly. Discovery used to be fabulous.
There's really been a like that's why linear television is dying because the
The programming sucks.
no one's really respecting the brands
Yeah.
anymore.
And that's why live sports is so much more, driving live TV. Live sports is what's driving linear television. 'cause they're the only ones that can pay the contracts to do that. Amazon's trying to slide in there. Netflix is sliding in there.
Yeah.
But, basically that's good old NBC, ABC, CBS.
So your show comes out in China, what, 2022? What was the feedback like of this white guy who's doing a 25-year anniversary tour of the most insane bike ride ever?
Fabulous.
Yeah, good reviews?
Well, it started out as a Bytedance series because they had been the primary funder.
So ByteDance, for anyone that doesn't know, is the version of TikTok in China. So ByteDance is the company that owns TikTok. TikTok is the international version, and Douyin is the Chinese version.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Pin is the platform, the YouTube-ish platform.
Watermelon, baby.
So it went out on that, and 2 million views of each episode, 300-400 comments on each episode.
It's amazing.
But, just you know, I don't think my content is unique, right? I think that's just a factor of the numbers, and it was fabulous, and very I felt very fluffed up and very important, but then there was the next thing. And so, I've tried to revisit that, but it's kind of dormant. And so it's not really like I can really capture that group. The CCTV aired the series on Channel 5, the documentary
Yeah, that's a big
channel,
deal. A sports channel.
big deal.
Yeah.
But then it rolled right over to CGTN, which is the international facing version. And that's where it's parked. It's still streaming on that. You can still access the versions on that, but it's basically dead. And
Did that series lead to any talks about doing anything else in China?
you know what? I was exhausted by the process.
By all the people, I can imagine.
All the people. Well, it was the and I watched COVID in America from China.
That must have been strange.
I watched January 6th in a Chinese hotel room, right? So I was flabbergasted. I didn't understand. How could this be my homeland?
Yeah, I got to stay in China forever.
Well, and but I wanted to go home, but I was so perplexed that what I wanted to do, and this is the lesson that you've learned before me, is I thought that the currency of the series, audience, beautiful production, everything else, I thought that could carry me into an American series.
So no one cares.
No, right, exactly.
No one gives a fuck.
And again, it's like being the editor. It's the chair, and so the idea that I had some oomph just disappeared with Nat Geo. It disappeared when Discoveries just turned into, you know. I don't want to get in any.
I mean, I did work for BBC in Asia. I did work for
Yeah, you did
Discoveries,
series.
and none of that translated into getting any kind of exposure here in the United States. Zero. And even with Discovery Channel, who has a big presence here in the United States,
Yeah.
it just wasn't. It wasn't a genre that they're willing to spend money on. Sadly.
Well, and it can be looked at as reality television, and it's low cost, and it's not scripted, and so there's a lot less regulations and
But they rather spend like $10 million and put Chris Hemsworth in there, who's Thor, instead of giving you like $100,000 and letting you do it.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's the
Absolutely.
rub.
So the whole star vehicle is, do you have a star attached? Who would because I didn't understand America, and I thought I had clout, which was just, ignorant and arrogant. I bought a van and drove across America trying to understand. So I went to places that I would normally avoid. Motorcycle rallies, Trump anti-vax, anti-mask, right? The People's Convoy, right? I went to rodeos. I'd never been to a rodeo. And I also had a Chinese American thread. So I went to Chinatowns all the way along across the country. I dragon boated in 4 different cities: Philadelphia, Chicago, Salt Lake City,
Oh,
which was just white, white, white.
Yeah.
Then a couple of Chinese
More Mormon land.
doing Chinese doing line dances.
Yeah.
Um, and then San Francisco, which is really dragon boat central, really. And because I thought dragon boating was just a colorful tradition in China.
Mhm.
There's 1,250 teams around America. It is a sport that is booming because you can include people, because it's these networks of you create a little community. You push for 6 months, and then you have these big colorful races. Anyway, so
What was it about your experience in China in 2021 that made you want to come back to the United States and like try to figure out what was going on? Was it this dystopian COVID Trump Biden January 6th like debacle that you were just like, what is going on in my fucking country?
yeah, I did. I could not understand the absolute failure of the system. And one of the things in China is it was a public health emergency.
Mhm.
And so the public participates in public things in China much more readily, wearing a mask, right? In Asia, people wear masks because they've got a cold or they've got the allergy,
It has nothing to do with pandemics. Yeah, they just do it out of politeness.
just out of courtesy,
Yeah.
right? And when I went to living in Tokyo in the 80s, just seems so strange. But then it becomes more and more obvious why it's about their protecting you.
I have an aside. Can we just take a little tangent?
Are you kidding me? I've had 55 tangents.
I was in Hong Kong filming my last episode of Expedition Asia for Discovery Channel in December 2019. And this was when the uh, uh, anti-China protests were happening in Hong Kong.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so there I am. I'm in the Mira Hotel in Kowloon, which is I wanted to stay there because Edward Snowden stayed there before he ended up in Russia. But we're sitting in the Mira Hotel in Kowloon. We're waking up every morning. They're pulling the bricks out of Kowloon Road, like you wake up to tear gas smells in the morning, and you got
Yeah.
to go out and film something that looks interesting. But it was funny because while we were in Hong Kong in December 2019, the Hong Kong government banned wearing face masks because people were protesting wearing face masks
For
and
identity.
for identity, and you couldn't see who was doing what was going on. And
Couldn't
then
use the facial recognition software.
2 months later, they made it you had to wear a face mask because COVID was happening in February 2020, and they got rid of the other law, and then they mandated. And I was just like, this is why politics and politicians can go fuck off forever, because it's like, we need to see your face. Now you need to cover up. And it's just like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, use some common sense, right? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly the debacle and not understanding how our government and our citizens could not rally around this. And frankly, the fascist looking insurrection on January 6th was like, where did that come from?
Mhm.
Is that just gonna like a new wave? Is that what I'm going back to?
Or the rollout of COVID passports and firing people for not getting vaccines at work. Like, there was a lot of fascism going on in a very short period of time. It was
Exactly.
terrifying.
Exactly.
Yep.
But I wanted to understand. And so I go to the People's Convoy, and instead of avoiding them and being pissed off about the traffic, I go to the base camp
Mm.
and spend a couple of nights there and talk to people around the canteen and find out, why does a registered nurse from the Kaiser Permanente system in California quit because she would not take the vaccine and live in her little Saturn car to drive across the country and protest. And, she talked constitutions, she talked individual rights, she saw all these. I had no idea.
All this shit was thrown out the window globally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I got to the stage where I was living in Dubai. Like, I got out of Istanbul and I filmed a little in Europe, and then everything closed down again. I went back to Dubai. But it got to the point in Dubai where you couldn't leave Dubai without showing a vaccine record. And 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 then and it's funny because originally, like, you get a PCR test, you're negative, you get a piece of paper, right? You show that piece of paper to the airline, you get to leave the country.
48 hours, whatever.
But it was funny, like, a few months later, I check in for my flight. I was going to Switzerland, Dubai to Zurich, and the lady checks me in and she goes, "Oh, and I see you had a PCR test 2 days ago. Great, you're negative. Here you go. Here's your boarding pass." And I was like, "How the fuck are my medical records on Emirates Airlines check-in counter?
Yeah.
Like, where was the box that I ticked for that? Like, that is unbelievable." It was just like privacy, any kind of personal rights were totally thrown out. And then of course now you find out the financial schemes that were involved in all of this, the
Absolutely.
personal vendettas that were involved in all of this,
Yeah.
the money,
Yeah.
and we were all just kind of subject to it. And it's like funny because, like, even the people who really bought in and really got upset at 6 feet, apart and wearing
Right.
masks
Right.
and all that, there was no scientific evidence to any of that. And people were even canceled on YouTube because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this one might get demonetized just because we're talking about it so much.
Yeah. Well, but what
5 years later.
so my exploration across America,
Yeah.
almost a year of exploring, and I'm filming myself. It's haphazard. It's GoPro. It's my Sony cameras. And after a year, I think, okay, I'm going to make a documentary film. I don't know how to make a documentary film. I don't. So I went about learning how to make documentary films and spent a year trying to put all these isolated, episodic experiences with 1,000 people into one narrative.
That must have been challenging.
Well, it exhausted me, and I came to realize this is episodic TV. This is episodic YouTube. And so that's what I've been publishing now is 15 and 20-minute episodes of the journey across America.
That's brilliant.
They were very well done, professional editors, spent more money than I imagined, and then very few people watched them. And then excerpts now that I suck at marketing. And so I've had to hire a guy in the Philippines to do social media for me because I just don't have the patience for it
Yeah, it's pretty mind-numbing.
and the aptitude for it. And so, every once in a while, with a little snippet of, was it of the American series or the Chinese series? All of a sudden, it got 350,000 views
Oh, wow.
out of nowhere. Why? What did we do right? What was the next one? What did they have? We tried everything to replicate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's their algorithm.
The algorithm loves you or hates you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the purpose of that series called "Oh My Beautiful Country," it's called Beautiful Country because Mego. Americans don't know that the common name for America, the United States, in China is Mego, which is beautiful country. So I wanted to express that. But the purpose of this journey, it was a scouting trip because I want to bring Chinese bicyclists to cross America like I've crossed China.
That'd be wild.
Well, it's a big project. It can only be done by one of the networks or so. It's a big co-production. And the money, the interest kind of dried up a year ago in China. And I lost faith.
Around the same time Trump got elected, go figure.
Yeah, exactly. So I lost faith. I got depressed. I put on a lot of weight. I just thought, well, this is done. Until Trump's out of office, it's done. What am I going to do now? I don't know. Because for me, if I've got a mission and a vision of something, it pulls me forward.
Yeah, it's motivating.
It just beyond any logic. I'm impulsive anyway, but beyond any logic, I have the faith in the vision that I can see for no logical reason, but that's how I've operated, and I lost the faith and the vision. and I lost the sense that other people believed in it.
Yeah, and that can happen in this industry for sure, right? It's like, and that's the hard thing. It's like, do you work on 5 or 6 projects, you have a few irons in the fire, and then when you get a no, you move on to the next one, or do you just champion one thing, and then when it falls apart, it takes you like 12 to 18 months to rebuild another something that you need to try to get funding for. It's fucking never ending.
But you are, again, a master at multitasking, multi-project, and this one's more commercial and that one's more aesthetic. I mean, you've really got a thing,
Before
right?
2020, I could do all that because I had money coming in because people were paying me to make stuff, and
Yeah.
now it's just been a lot different. Like I haven't made a full-blown television show since 2020. Like I haven't
The BBC stuff.
Yeah, like I haven't worked for Discovery Channel since 2019. Like I podcast and stuff like that, and I still go out and do trips and make like YouTube videos now, but I haven't made like, like in 2019, Discovery Channel gave me 10 episodes in 10 countries in 10 months, to do 10 epic expeditions, and they paid for it. Like,
Yeah. Oh my
and
God. Yeah.
that's never happening again.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
No, I mean, like the climate is so bad now,
Yeah.
and I just don't see it shifting. Like I see further disintegration of the television audience,
Mm.
and like unless you're working with a streamer and you have an A-lister, there's no money for anything. So
Yeah.
so now we're forced to build our own audience and to try to fund stuff with the 100 or the 1,000 or the 10,000 people who believe in what we're trying to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
who will fund us $5 a month, $10 a month, or watch our YouTube videos and share them with their friends.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. And then of course without that broadcast exposure, corporate partners aren't so interested. So then that's another round of funding because the corporate partners haven't figured out that no one's making motorcycle TV or adventure TV anymore, and it's all on YouTube. They're still waiting for like the big BBC series to come out, but it's not coming out.
No, yeah, 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 yeah. You know what I've started doing, user-generated content. So I hired, a marketing guy in the Philippines, who's young, he's 22, um, to do that through a company in Manila.
Mhm.
And so I said to them, "I'm happy to do an endorsement video. Will you pay me for it?" Right? So my endorsement video is casual, over the shoulder, bicycle riding, talking about my guy and like that. So they paid me for that.
Mhm.
So I've gone back to specialized. I'm going to different companies. It's Sony, Sony would be a dream. Sony, if you're listening, um, the
On the Sony cameras.
on the Sony 3,
Yeah.
um, and as a way to generate, um, whether it's views, cash, I get paid like real money.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's one answer to it. I had there was something. So, in my Bring Chinese Bicyclists to America initiative, right, for the beautiful country, right, bring them ride again in contested areas or challenging areas or interesting areas that are maybe a little political. Um, I kept going back to documentary film festivals because I had a network. I'd learned about documentary films, and I'd talked to Nat Geo. I'd talked to ESPN 3030. I'd talk to these people, and they'd be, "Well, that's very interesting," and then nothing would happen.
Mhm.
And I send them a pitch deck, and that's very interesting. But you keep going.
Yeah, but they can't sell it, so they don't move on it.
Yeah, and so they can't champion it anywhere. So this time what I did instead of the Doc NYC was I came to the Chinese American Film Festival
Here in Los Angeles?
here in Los Angeles. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Chinese American Film and TV Film Festival, which is mostly a business conclave around making multicultural exchange films and television.
Mhm.
These people get it.
Mhm.
These people are excited.
Mhm.
These people think, "Oh, we can make a series out of that." You know, we think that we can make that for the Chinese market.
Yeah, they'd love it.
And so all of a sudden all of a sudden I'm uh, have confidence in the project. That's good for another 3 months.
You should go onto like ChatGPT or Grok or something and figure out who the top 100 Chinese-born American businessmen are,
Yeah.
and say that you want to do this kind of cultural exchange because it's so smart. Like China doesn't understand America. America doesn't understand China. Two biggest economies in the world. They need to figure it out.
Absolutely.
So why not send bicyclists and have them go from Washington D.C. to L.A. on a variety of different routes, and then you've got 10 people in China who are Chinese who love America because they're going to have a great time.
Yeah,
They're going to meet wonderful
yeah,
people. They're
exactly.
going to see landscapes that
Yeah.
are absolutely beautiful. Like you're going to create 10 ambassadors.
Exactly.
Like who doesn't think like that?
Well,
A lot of people.
but these people
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
These people, Shanghai Media Group, you need to cut this out because I can't say that.
No, the Chinese media. You could leave that out.
Just the name of the company.
Okay.
So one senior executive at probably the largest media company in China said, well, we could have Chinese bicyclists, we could have American bicyclists, a group ride your route again, right? And then we could do Chinese, but we could set up a pattern of this, right? And do it cheaply, do it low cost, and just proliferate. Bytedance would be interested.
Yeah.
So, again, here's a senior executive who gets it in the cross-cultural ilk and desire to have, the mission, right? Is like we're both saying, we've got to learn to understand each other, Americans and Chinese.
You know what you need? You need an angel. You need like some big time American who loves business in China, or some big Chinese who loves business and who wants to like push this cross cultural narrative.
Yeah.
You need someone like that to like guarantee a couple $100,000, and then like all of the media companies will be like, yes,
Yeah.
because like without having like a little bit of that piggy bank already built,
Yep.
it's such a hard
Yeah.
thing for people to say yes to.
Shovel ready.
Yeah, shovel ready, exactly.
Make it, preform, just pour in the cash. Here we go. So I'm looking for development partners.
Okay.
And that's how I'm phrasing it. But the Chinese American community, I mean, it's 7% of our population is Chinese or is Asian American. Probably 3% is Chinese American. And I mentioned that one theme of my exploration across America, my scouting trip, was learning about Chinese American experience. I realized I didn't know shit besides like Transcontinental Railroad and Chinatowns. And so I specifically followed those things. I went to massacre sites. I went to the Angel Island, which is where the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882, all of a sudden, Angel Island in San Francisco became an Ellis Island, a barrier basically for entry for Chinese citizens. So I literally drove along the Transcontinental Railroad.
Oh wow.
I have spikes. I have pieces of wheel from that to get the experience of it and go to a little here's a cemetery. There are 50 people buried here. The white people are buried on one side of the tracks, and the Chinese people are buried in basically unmarked graves on the other side.
That's fucked up.
It's the way it's so people don't understand
That's the way it was.
the way it was.
Yeah.
And it's deeply in our culture. It's deep. This kind of prejudice is deeply in our culture. And we hate to admit it. We don't, but part of it's just the ignorance. So that's part of where telling the Chinese American story also helps to generate interest, I think, in China.
Absolutely. No, I love the project. And you just need to find the right businessman who gives charitably to cross-cultural initiatives.
Yeah. And have faith.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, when we made these beautiful 3 episodes, I'm going to make 12. When we put them out there and got 1,000 views, right? And I emailed everybody, and 1,200 views, and I was so depressed, and so I hired somebody to market it. Well, surely marketing with social media, that'll do it, right? No, nothing.
It's such a hit. It's such a coin toss of what hits and what
Hit
doesn't.
or miss.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Some of these podcasts do 5, 10,000 views. Some do 100. I have no idea. I put them all out at the same time, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 3:30 in the afternoon, PST. Like I
Yep.
did some research. That's a good time to launch a thing. I do the same graphics. I
I
click
mean,
all the
it's
boxes.
branded. It's beautiful.
Yeah, but it's like it's so fucking random what catches and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where were we? Um, Finding a Chinese business, finding a sponsor,
Mhm.
finding a groundling, basically, to help grow it. Um, because now my faith is restored
That's nice after this trip.
after this trip.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for a dream,
Well,
right?
you gotta be. You've done some fucking epic shit.
But I spent,
So
all this
start with a dream.
market. I put on 25 pounds. I mean, I've lost it now,
Mm.
but and I spent too much money, and literally told them I conduct a personal a bi-weekly group. We talk about personal documentaries. And 2 months ago, I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. You guys have heard me for 2 years. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And so just making the choice not to go back to the documentary film festival, but come to the ethnic version of that,
Mhm.
is I was talking to the wrong people.
Yeah, doc film people don't have any money, and those festivals, there's no money. It's like, yeah, it's just a big sad conversation at the end of every day.
Yeah. I mean,
Great work, amazing work, great storytelling and highest quality storytelling and camera work and everything is amazing, but it's not a money not a money conversation.
the sort of the heyday, the golden uh, 5 years of documentary filmmakers is just fading,
Yeah, fully.
right? The market is just full of them.
Yeah.
People still love them, but now there's 100 great documentaries.
Yeah, I mean, even look at great filmmakers like Jimmy Chin, who did Free Solo with Alex Honnold, right?
Mhm.
Like, here's a guy that won the Oscar for best documentary,
Yep.
and he hasn't put out anything since because what? Because he ran out of ideas? No way.
No.
No. Is he having trouble getting fundraising? Who knows, right? But like that was what, 2019 or 2018 when
Yeah.
Alex did
Yeah.
the Free Solo and they won the Oscar. So that was before COVID. So like Jimmy Chin, probably the world's greatest documentary filmmaker, or at least
Adventure sports.
in adventure sports, who's done, who won an Oscar for it and kind of working at the highest level. Like he's not producing.
Yeah. Well, I did just see something. I can't come up with the name of it, but your point is well taken,
Yeah.
right? The people with name brand, with some money, with connections, it's difficult. So, what are our options?
Yeah, just to fucking scrape through every day.
Well, it's that you persist what you resist,
Mhm.
or what resists you, you persist,
Yeah.
and eventually you'll either either go crazy or something will happen.
I think it's okay. I think, it's good not to be too hard on yourself because like
Yeah,
even
abs
during COVID, I went through a stage of like a year and a half where I didn't want to work in this industry anymore and I was ready to like try change gears.
yeah,
And it's only like a few months ago where I started climbing, 20,000-foot peaks again and started getting back out into it and just realizing like this is
but
all I love. And
yeah,
like but it like the mind fuck that was COVID was enough to almost turn me away from it, which is crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so, the healing back to the one of the things I said earlier, the risk reward is not a duality, it's not one or the other, it's actually taking the journey, taking the risk, being out there that provides the benefits regardless of how it turns out.
Mhm.
And so, I'm 70 years old.
Wow.
So I've got, what, 15 years to keep doing this stuff.
40 or 50. Come on, longevity.
Well, I'll go for 18.
Yeah.
88 is an auspicious number in Chinese culture,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
I'm figuring 88. But that means I got shit to do.
Yeah.
And so, this is a great way to, sort of juice both of us,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah.
Give us the faith.
Yeah, because it's funny because like when we met each other and we started talking in the late teens of 2015, 16, 17, 18, when you and I were chatting about all this work, yeah, we were totally different people back then. And like you got your show off the ground, and we've all been through a crazy, strange couple of years, and now we're trying to find our footing again, and it's not an easy process. So no, I mean, like, having these cross cultural experiences and trying to fundraise for that, I can imagine it being difficult, but you got to be, you're on the right track, I think.
You gotta have faith.
You got to, and if you don't have faith, your pitch, people will tell in your pitch.
Just lays flat.
It's
Yeah.
every time, yeah.
But that faith and mission is what keeps pulling me forward.
Yeah.
So
Gets you out of bed in the morning.
yeah, some days.
Yeah, some days. So look, what have we not talked about in this podcast yet that you want to kind of let everyone out there know?
Well, I was going to ask you some questions.
Oh yeah, you can ask me some questions if you like.
So you've done 160 of these, 62 of these,
I think so, yeah, and change.
and you've learned and learned and learned and learned how to do them. They look great.
Mhm.
They sound great.
Thank you.
How are you building subscribers? Are you getting the Patreon people? How's it going?
So like in a time of crisis, I've always leaned on like chatting with people. So during COVID, I did the COVID calls. So I did 100 COVID calls in like 100 days.
We did a COVID call.
Yeah, yeah. So, I leaned on that, and then when I came to LA, I was like, well, I don't know anyone in LA. So I'll just start a podcast and invite people over and see who comes. And a lot of people came, and I have an interesting profile and a lot of interesting perspectives on the world and life. So it's been like really nice having people come over and
Yeah.
want to talk about life and talk about their pursuits and things like that. And I found a lot of comfort in that, and it's allowed me to have like a social life in LA, because this is basically my social life, and
Yeah.
I love it. And the technical stuff was easier than it looked.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I found a guy on YouTube who talked about his setting up his podcast.
Exactly.
And then he put all the gear down, and I just went and got all the Amazon links. He probably made a ton of money from me.
Yeah.
But I just bought everything he bought, and then I tried to put it together, and then it's just a few nights of me fiddling with it, figuring out how to do it by myself. But I edit it, and I needed to figure out how to do it totally alone, because I didn't want to have like a producer or someone like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, you mean, you are a curious person. And so that's part of what moves you forward, is the curiosity to explore, literally.
Yeah.
And getting to a new city and trying to find new people is brilliant
Yeah.
to have people come to you.
It's really nice, and I've had like a lot of amazing guests. I've had a couple guests come back,
Yeah.
over time, and the LA is not my last stop. Like I totally see myself, taking, maybe moving back to a different part of the world at some stage and continuing the podcasting and just working in the podcasting. Like I was in Ecuador last week, so I was hiking and filming, in Ecuador, climbing some volcanoes. Now I'm back podcasting. I did a couple podcasts this week. Next week I got some more podcasts. Then I'm traveling again. So I'm able to like really plan it out so that anytime I'm in LA, I've got 3 or 4 podcasts a week.
Amazing.
And then I can just keep sharing these wonderful conversations with people.
How do you multitask so much work and continue to be so productive?
I think it really started with the dual responsibilities of being a student athlete. So I can go back to, grade school, high school, university, whatever, of just having to multitask between responsibilities of keeping myself fit, keeping myself healthy, practicing, playing at a certain level, and then also maintaining the academic qualifications I needed to be able to play because you had to maintain a certain average in order
Yep.
to stay on the team. And I think just that practice all the time, does that work? Really kind of ingrain this idea of having to do a few different things every day and just being able to switch, brain paths. And I think that's really what helped me a lot. And then I just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're able to compartmentalize probably better than most people.
You know what I do? And I tell this to people all the time. Like people have asked me, like, how do you walk across a desert for 120 miles? How do you ride a motorcycle around China for, yeah, but it really is like turning off your brain. Cause like I think your brain is your biggest enemy
Yeah.
and your biggest asset.
Yeah.
So, so like if I'm going to start a podcast, I won't I won't plan it for a month and figure out how to market it for a month or 6 months. Like I'll just buy all the shit, figure it out and invite a friend over and just start
Go.
and start.
Just go.
Yeah, cuz I really think like the number one thing that we all do is we overthink ourselves to the point where we don't do anything.
Yeah.
Like to a point of like non-action.
Yeah.
And I think that's worse than failing.
Yeah.
So I'd rather set up a podcast studio and have 10 terrible podcasts than have this room available and never put anything in it. And every time I walk past to get the mail or order some food, I look at the empty studio. I'll be like, oh, I'll do that next.
No, you keep the door closed.
You right? Yeah, exactly. So it's just this idea of turning off your brain and doing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I've done a lot of my adventures. Like people say, oh, that's going to be dangerous. It's like, well, one day at a time. Like I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like one podcast at a time, I'll figure it out.
Well, I think if there's a takeaway from these leaps that we've both made is the faith that we'll figure it out.
Got to.
It may not be right, it may not be, but we've figured out a lot of stuff on the fly,
Yeah.
and we're still here.
Yeah, like I always talk about this. Like, so I made this series a long time ago. It was called Extreme Trek Sacred Mountains, and I did the
Yep.
4 trips around the sacred mountains of Tibet, right? And I remember I was pitching this beforehand to a broadcaster. I won't say who it was, and they were like, "Okay, so tell me how easy it is for you to film all these episodes." I'm like, "Well, it's really difficult. Like, first we got to go to the village, and not even know if we're going to be able to leave on a certain day." Because the guy who we stay with at the village, he needs to ask his brother, his cousin, his wife, whatever, if they want to do a 2-week trip in Tibet through the mountains.
Yeah.
And then they need to have the donkeys. Maybe they need to borrow a few donkeys. Then the guy has to bring his wife who's going to do some cooking for us. And then it's like, if we get all that together, maybe it's 1 day, maybe it's 5 days. We're just sitting there acclimatizing. And then maybe we'll go out and do it. And I was explaining this to the broadcast executive, right? He's like, there's no tour company, there's no this, there's no that, there's no insurance. What if they cancel? But I was like, no, there's nothing like that. And he just said, fuck it, I can't invest in that at all, right?
Yeah.
But then that same guy bought the series once I was finished because I did it.
Yeah.
But so that's this whole thing of like, having the passion, pursuing it, doing it imperfectly, but having a result be quite good. But it's just not at the risk level that other people are willing to
Right.
invest in. And that's I think where the best stuff is made. But then you need to find people who are going to really believe in you. And I was able to kind of self-fund that and make the money back afterwards.
Yeah.
And that was okay for that first one. And then the second one and the third one, we got more money and stuff like that. But it's always that first, crack at it that's the most terrifying. But a lot of the best ideas are not investable because they're kind of untried and untested. But I think that's where the best stuff comes from.
Speculation.
Yeah.
And so the entertainment business is built on speculation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now there are lots of lawyers and suits who want to, mitigate the risks.
Sure.
I mean, that's big corporate thinking.
Mhm.
And so there's lots of stuff that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I had a podcast a couple of weeks ago with my friend Frank, who lives here in LA, and he does completion bonds for feature films. So, all we did was talk about risk mitigation and what happens when a film doesn't go well and who gets paid, who doesn't get paid, who takes over the production. And
Yeah.
like, this is what people want to see. But obviously, like, you can't have a completion bond when you're working on small budgets in the middle of rural Tibet and blah blah blah. It's like red flag, red flag, red flag.
Ex
But that's where the story is. You got to go where the story is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where our stories are.
Or just somehow they keep ending up in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Or in the middle of so one of the in my scouting trip across America to bring the Chinese bicyclists, one of my rules of thumb was if it scares me, that's where I need to go.
That's where you need to be.
Motorcycle rallies. There's no reason it should scare me, but it scared me. It just felt unfamiliar. The anti-mask, anti-vax. It it scared me. Rodeo. Anyway, so we know that if it scares us for whatever reason, rather than analyzing the scare,
Hmm.
go
Yeah.
go through it.
It's like a moth to a flame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you're not kind of pushing yourself and pushing your idea of what you are and what you can do and what you can make or what story you can tell, then you're really just kind of pushing things around. You're not really driving. You're not creating a new path.
Well, this is what people say is inspirational about what we do.
Yeah, I just wish more people who inspired us watched our shows more or were able to contribute to the production of it more because actually nowadays we rely on them more than anything else
Yeah.
because that corporate funding has really dried up. Tourism funding has dried up since COVID hasn't come back,
Yeah.
and the broadcasters have just turned away. I had a broadcaster. I've told this story a couple times on the podcast, but I haven't told it to you. I met a broadcaster, who works for a big linear television network here in the United States, and he's based in LA. And we'd been in touch a lot 2015, 2016, 2017. We always met for coffee when I was in LA. And he basically said, look, in 2019, he would get a budget of $10 million and he would put $1 million into 10 different shows with 10 different showrunners, with 10 different directors.
Yeah.
And, that would be the year's work. And then at the end of the year, the shows would come back, they'd rate them, they'd slot them, they'd go out into the world. One or two would do well, a couple would be middle of the road, and there'd be a couple stinkers, right?
Yeah.
And I was one of those 10. I was very lucky in a privileged position to be one of those 10 creators or storytellers. But nowadays, they take $9 million of that budget and get Zac Efron or Chris Hemsworth or to do an adventure show, and then they use $1 million to buy shit that was made like 10 years ago or 15 years ago when people still made adventure shows, and then they would fill in the schedule with the
B-roll.
the B-roll. And that's it now. And it's just like, well, I'm not Chris Hemsworth and I don't want to produce a Chris Hemsworth show. I want to produce a show for myself or something like that. So there's really no place to go anymore
Well,
until that swings back, or you need to have independent financing. Or cut them all out and just go Patreon, YouTube, and hope that there's enough Patreon subscribers out there or people who are willing to support your career that you can actually go out and make original content. Is that $10,000 a month? Is it $50,000 a month? Whatever that number is,
yeah.
what'll get you back in the field telling stories?
Well, learning how to market on YouTube, for me,
Yeah.
is really part of it. Learning the algorithm, because that's the place to go. I mean, the other channels, the other streamers, I mean, they're formulaic.
Yeah.
They're risk averse, and they want big names.
Yeah, and they won't take any
That's not
stuff.
going to change.
Yeah.
So we are creating the barn fire with little pieces of straw, and hopefully something catches, and a barn burner comes out, and people go, "Whoa,
Yeah.
let's get more of that."
Would you ever think about going back to China and trying to operate from China to get things back off the ground? Because there might be more willingness or more money available in China than here, because the climate in the United States against China these days is miserable.
Yeah. So that was part of the Chinese American Film Festival,
Yeah.
right? Which been going for 20 years, was meeting these people who have been doing that kind of stuff for 20 years. So they have a listening for that kind of approach. I haven't thought about going back to China.
Yeah. We need it now more than ever, maybe.
I think maybe I said earlier, now it's more difficult. My vision for this bring Chinese bicyclists travel across America is more difficult than ever. How many more barriers could they put up?
If you can fund that and shoot it and publish it all while Trump is still in office with all the anti-China sentiment on a daily basis, they should give you an Oscar.
You I don't know about that. What I do know is that it's more important than ever.
Mhm.
And so that's what I keep coming back to. And there's an arrogance in that that I think I might make a difference or have people contribute to something that can make a difference. But we got to do it.
Yeah,
We just got to keep doing it.
it'd be a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'd have a lot of great people in China who have had a great experience in the United States who can break down those media stereotypes and actually tell people what middle America really looks like and how nice the people are, and they're some of the nicest people in the world, and the fucking scenery is spectacular.
And take Americans there and do trips there.
Yeah.
So I might end up being a tour operator.
Hmm. An ambassador.
Yes. I think I, the flag, the tour operator with the microphone,
Yeah.
the little megaphone and the flag.
Half US, half Chinese flags. Yeah.
Oh man.
Epic.
Okay.
So you feeling good about this? This is a good conversation. Way better than just a coffee catch up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have simpatico, we always have, and we fluff each other up. I feel fluffed up.
Yeah, it's good. We're ready to take on the world again.
Yeah. And one day at a time.
One long day at a time.
Yeah. Eh.
So where can we find your stuff on social media? You mentioned a YouTube channel. What's the handle on the YouTube channel?
So my YouTube channel is so old. Excuse me. My YouTube channel is so old. It starts with an @ symbol.
Yeah, mine too.
P.S. Crosby.
Nice. Yes.
So you can literally put it in the search bar on YouTube
Mhm.
@P.S. Crosby, and it goes to my channel.
Brilliant. So I'll put that in the link so people can find your stuff. Yeah.
Please do. And then the China series is I'll give you the CGTN streaming address
Mhm.
because it's 8 24-minute episodes, beautifully shot.
Mhm.
If you want to learn about China and start to understand some of the dynamics and the cultural influences and the beauty,
Mhm.
this series is amazing.
Okay.
So I've tried to get the rights to publish them here as an educational package. No,
It's crazy that they don't want to just let that stuff show up.
it's in our contract that they will publish it on YouTube after 3 years. I did screen grabs and then publishing on YouTube
Mhm.
as I kept asking and asking and asking. And this is brilliant content.
Tencent has their own YouTube channel, and they put their stuff. So there's the series I did in China, the Granny Knows Best with my friend Jimmy.
Yep.
They put that all out in the United States because Tencent has its own channel on YouTube. Like they should,
CGTN has their own channel,
but they won't put it out.
no.
That's fucking
Well,
ridiculous.
I think part of it is just that I'm not the right people aren't, you know, hearing that message or, remember there's a woman, very prominent journalist with CGTN called Liu Xing. And you'd recognize her. Turning Point is the name of her program.
Mhm.
It's Western facing every day, an hour every single day, and 24 and sometimes more. So I was interviewed by her by Zoom,
Mhm.
and so that's a pretty high profile. A-
Huge.
And you'd think that CGTN would want to push all that stuff.
Mhm.
Haven't been able to.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I also
Happens when big companies get involved.
I also just got tired of asking. I got tired of pushing. I felt like I was pissing people off. I was pissing me off.
Yeah.
So I just did something about it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's just what they wanted to do in the end, anyways.
So it's all on YouTube.
Mhm.
The entire Chinese series is on YouTube. The American series, which is a scouting trip to bring Chinese bicycles, that's on YouTube. And I've got there's a bunch of profiles of, in China when they're doing this, there's profiles of me going to do it,
Mhm.
profiles of me doing it, profiles of me finishing it.
All the good stuff. Well, look, buddy, thank you so much for coming by the studio. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And I look forward to the next time we catch up. And
Absolutely.
yeah, this I want to stay up to date on this project. And if you can get it off the ground, we should get back on the mics and talk about this and how you pulled it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the faith has been the hardest part.
Mhm.
And now that I got
The hope that kills you.
hope is not a strategy.
No.
That's the venture capitalists. That's what they taught us. Hope is not a strategy, but it puts wind in my sails, and the wind in my sails is what moves the boat forward. Because there's nobody else
You know.
rowing the boat.
Yeah.
So
It's a lonely journey.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's okay.
Hmm.
You know, having your own company as your board of advisors is both a strength and a weakness.
Absolutely.
So part of what I'm doing is going to put together more people who know me and do this kind of work to have a monthly call.
Yeah.
Just to, be accountable, right? Spread the word, get good ideas, no commitment really. So will you be part of my advisory board?
Sure, I'd love to. Yeah.
Okay.
I would love to see this thing through and is how help you as best I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
Well, you're a pro.
Try it.
I would really appreciate it.
Hold on, we can go up here, show everyone we're in the same room because we don't do Zoom calls.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Great to see you again, buddy.
As well.
And I wish you all the best on the next venture.
Yeah, me too.
And now this is the best part. We fade to black and we're out.